Hello again. So before I continue, I mentioned in the last video that this would be my last video on Orthohack. I'm completely wrong. First of all, in the next video I make, I'm going to actually show you this whole system working, because I know you don't believe it actually works. But finally, for the descriptive purposes, other uses. So first of all, it occurred to me that we might have a situation where we could feed back the results of Orthohack to the symbolic analysis crowd to actually optimize the algorithms that create these orthobasis transforms in the first place. Specifically, once you use enough numerical precision, the topology of the transform which is emitted from Orthohack should tend to be convergent. Right? So you might be able to find places where Orthohack has discovered common terms that perhaps Dr. Math didn't happen to see. And if you would alert the mathematicians to these patterns, they might be able to make a more optimal symbolic transform. So that's kind of exciting. It's kind of like the tail wagging the dog. And there could be a lot of mileage in this above and beyond what Orthohack does. I think it's kind of novel to think of convergent numerical processes having informative feedback back to some AI system that's trying to do symbolic optimization. Very exciting possibilities there. Secondly, enabling quote-unquote hard but more useful transforms. On one particular orthobasis white paper I read, the author said that they'd taken kind of a mathematical shortcut in order to keep the symbolic math tractable, but in fact they would have preferred to create a slightly different orthobasis topology. But now that we don't really need to care as much as the symbolic math, I hope no mathematicians are watching this, they'll probably want to shoot me, we can actually do those much harder transforms that are maybe more numerically intensive, maybe more symbolically intensive, but it doesn't really matter much because all we need to do is generate one set or a few sets of different orthobasis vectors that might be useful in the real world, and then go crunch Orthohack on them and forget about it. So that's also exciting. Correlation analysis. So basically, you know, Orthohack is the science of studying the ratios between various sample points and ratios of those ratios. And it seems to me that there might be a way to connect that kind of thinking with the analysis of hierarchical systems. I'm thinking particularly in biology, but perhaps neural networks as well. You know, there might be a way to look at, say, the concentration of many, many different proteins in the blood, and just from a whole bunch of blood samples to actually determine the biological process hierarchy that gave rise to some of those concentrations. Do I see how that's possible with the tools that exist now? No, but there might be a way to spin it in that direction. But finally, empirically optimized orthobasis transformations. It would be really cool, now that you don't have to worry so much about symbolic math, if, instead of going to the library for a new kind of wavelet transform, next time you need something to identify patterns in your data, that you could instead turn to the data itself, optimize and tease out a set of orthobasis vectors that empirically seem to work well for that data set, and then smooth them a little bit and tune them in a feedback process with Orthohack, so you get some very performant and relevant orthobases, but you also get a high performance transform without doing any symbolic math. Just a thought. Okay, next video, I promise you're going to see it working. Stick around.